Welcome back to LimQ Plus, everyone. On this channel, I'm 100%ing Breath of the Wild by a bit every day until Tears of the Kingdom comes out, which is the sequel, as some of you might already know. That game releases in 104 days, so we are getting closer and closer to the last 100-day countdown. Today I want to talk about my live stream I did yesterday. Because I've been thinking about it even after the stream has been completed. What I did in the stream is something I wanted to do for a while, which is rating every single shrine in Breath of the Wild. In case, if you don't know, shrines are pretty much my specialty. They have always been part of my favorite speedrun, all shrines in the past, and even the all quest speedrun I'm doing now, and 100% speedruns I've been doing, obviously always include having to do all of the shrines. They've been my favorite content to do and to speedrun. So I felt like I had a lot to say, and I did have a lot to say. I ended up streaming for like 6 hours, basically constantly talking about every single shrine and giving them a rating for speedrunning and for casual playthrough. Now, this will eventually be a YouTube video on my main channel. If for some reason you are not following my main channel yet, which is just LimCube on YouTube, it's much bigger than this channel here. Make sure that if you want to see that video, to follow there. I hope to be finishing that up, the edited version, which is hopefully at least less than 2 hours long. On there might be a good video to put on in the back while you're doing something else and you hear me discuss shrines. Maybe you disagree or agree with me. I wanted to quickly talk about first how I rated these shrines in this video today, and then kind of give you my thoughts, because I feel like I can now confidently say what, in my opinion, the best shrines in the game are, and my specific favorite one. But yeah, let's get into it. I rated the shrines, like I already teased, in terms of casual playthrough and in terms of speedrunning, but I gave them a separate rating. This is because some shrines are a really fun casual experience, but an absolute pushover in terms of speedrunning. What does rating for speedrunning mean? Basically, the way I did it is I said, how fun is the shrine to speedrun? So if it's a very frustrating speedrunning strat or boring, that would make the rating go down. My rating was from 1 to 5, so kind of like 1 stars to 5 stars, which may sound a little bit weird, but the reason I did that is I didn't want to do the typical 1 to 10 rating. I feel like it's really hard to say sometimes what's the difference between like a 6 and a 7 on the shrine scale. With this 1 to 5 rating, I felt more confident to be like, okay, so 3 is like the average shrine, right? It's a solid average shrine. 2 is a not so great shrine. 1 are the worst shrines. 4 is a pretty good shrine, a good one, above average. And 5 are like the best shrines that the game has to offer. So that's the rating I pretty much went with going in. And then I just followed the all quest speedrun route, the way I would do that specific speedrun. And basically went through all of the shrines, all 120. Now, I did exclude DLC shrines, and the reason I did that is because I think the DLC shrines are much, much better than the other shrines in the game. I think they would have an unfair advantage. The quality is so much higher that maybe in the future I'll do a DLC shrine ranking where I go more into detail when it comes to those. But yeah. Now, additionally, the way I rated shrines is basically I rated everything that counts for getting the Spirit Orb. What does this mean? So the shrine back there at Gerudo Town, getting the Spirit Orb is basically everything inside the shrine, because the shrine is just out there in the open. You can already access the shrine. If a shrine is underground and you have to do some sort of quest or some sort of challenge to get it out of the ground, that in my opinion counted towards getting the Spirit Orb, so it would be part of the rating. It didn't make sense to me to give Eventide Island a low rating because it's a blessing shrine, which is obviously technically boring, which again, this is a biased take. I actually had some people tell me yesterday that they like blessing shrines because they were just a free gift and they didn't enjoy shrine gameplay in general. Obviously, this is going to be an extremely biased list when you see it, from my own experience and my own opinion, but still, it didn't make sense to me to not include the actual Eventide Island challenge in the rating of the Eventide Island shrine because it's just a blessing. So that's what I did. Now, maybe put in your guess right now, not necessarily in the comments, but just in your head, what you think your favorite shrines are, what shrines really stand out to you. And I think I just want to talk about the 3 that really were at the very top for me, for several reasons, kind of as like a little bit of a teaser for the video that I'm going to be putting out on my main channel. Now, one shrine that was a perfect example to me why it makes sense to raid shrines differently in terms of speedrunning and casual playthrough is Jitan Sami. I don't have the shrine on this playthrough, but it's the one up here at the Spring of Wisdom, where you're supposed to free the dragon Nadra. This is a 5 out of 5 casual experience. Going up to this mountain, seeing this dragon and having this epic, basically chase down the mountain where you slowly approach Nadra is one of the best moments in the entire game, in my opinion. And that's why I gave it a 5 out of 5 rating. I think it's an unforgettable, memorable, cool moment. The thing is... Oh, I always forget that I don't have infinite fairies on this file. This should not have happened. The thing is, in speedruns, you can actually get a Nadra scale from Hyrule Castle. There's a chest pretty close to the library in Hyrule Castle that has a Nadra scale. So by simply going there, getting the scale and putting it in the water in front of the fountain, the Spring of Wisdom, I mean, you can simply skip it. You don't actually have to free the dragon. You just put the scale in there, the shrine comes out, so it actually ends up being quite the boring shrine. I actually ended up rating it a 2 out of 5, which is below average, because it's not annoying, but it is kind of boring in a way, because you basically just end up sitting through that cutscene of the game introducing you to the challenge of Nadra, and then of the door opening, and then you just do a blessing shrine. So even though it's not necessarily bad, it's below average in terms of speedrunning quality. So this was a shrine I wanted to highlight in terms of one of the best, if not the best, casually, in terms of experiences, but pretty bad for speedrunning. A shrine that ended up being a 5 out of 5 for both speedrunning and casual playthrough was actually Eventide Island. Now, don't get me wrong, this is again a good time to point out Eventide Island is a very biased experience for everyone. Some people may have hated it, right? Because they got really stressed out and I didn't enjoy the gameplay. I personally really liked it. One of my biggest anxieties when playing Breath of the Wild was worrying about my weapons. I think this is true for a lot of people, or at least some people. I personally thought, did I never get this shrine? I'm trying to remember when in the speedrun I would get this one. Does it happen later or does it happen now? I'm actually a little bit confused. Doesn't matter. So I personally loved Eventide Island because I didn't have to worry about my weapons. I knew that whatever I do in here is basically almost like a new little start, a new little playthrough, and I really enjoyed that. I actually also really liked replaying Eventide Island in subsequent playthroughs where I tried to use like less weapons, or even eventually I smuggled some weapons onto the island, which is something you can do. Some people notice at this point. You can basically put down weapons before you enter the island to make it even easier. I really liked that experience casually. It was very fresh and I enjoyed it. For what it is. Now, for speedrunning, the reason it's a 5 out of 5 is, even though it's a blessing shrine, the strategies that you can use to go fast, to actually get the blessing shrine out of the ground, are absolutely amazing. If you have never watched an Eventide Island speedrun, and you like watching speedruns, do me the favor, go to speedrun.com and check out the individual level record for Eventide Island. I'm going to be getting the shrine out of the ground, so I'll be waiting here for a bit until the time is right and the pedestal glows. And I'm going to continue explaining. Watch that run. There's crazy strats. There's strats where people bomb arrow these shrine orbs that you have to put into the pedestals. They fly over the entire island perfectly into the opening. The craziest slides you'll ever see. Cool stealth strategies. I mean, just watch it. Go to the speedrun.com leaderboard. I'm actually going to link it below in the comments if you want to watch it. It's crazy and absolutely recommended, and it makes it one of the best shrines to speedrun on optimal, on the highest level. It's like a speedrunning gold mine, just because there's so much to do. It's like an entire island basically related to one specific shrine. So optimizing all of it is just really fun. Now, a last shrine that I want to highlight, which actually is my personal favorite shrine out of these three, is Makara. This shrine ended up in my rating getting a 5 out of 5 casual, which is gonna be biased again, and a 4 out of 5 speedrunning, and I will explain why. So Makara is a shrine in a cave in Hebra. It's I talked about this probably when I got this shrine out of the ground. It just feels special. You go through Hebra and you see these random torches in the mountain. You enter the cave. There's kind of like this cave leading up to it. You have to swim through cold water. There's some enemies approaching you. And eventually you find a shrine at this very seemingly special place. And instead of just getting a blessing, which a lot of the shrines that are hidden in caves just give you a blessing, you actually get a really big shrine that feels almost like a dungeon. It starts out by doing kind of like this balancing puzzle. Then you have to fight some guardians. There's even like two little scare moments where you stand in front of a wall of like crates and then suddenly an orb rolls towards you. That you have to avoid, and then later on there's another one. And it's a huge shrine. It's in one of my favorite locations in the game, and I really enjoyed my time in there. The reason it's a 4 out of 5, which means above average for speedrunning, is just because the wind bomb inside the shrine is so satisfying. It shoots you perfectly in front of the monk, even though it's like at the very top right of the shrine. And before wind bombs even existed, that shrine was like a 40-second, just literally running through type shrine. But now having that specific skip, even though wind bombs tend to get boring sometimes for speedrunners, it just feels right. It's very fun to do. I always look forward to speedrunning the shrine. And that's one last one I want to highlight. Just for some honorable mentions, Kamiya Tag, the Trial of Power, is something that scored pretty well. I'm sure some people really memorized this one. It's like this huge shrine relatively close to the Great Plateau. And for the rest, I am just gonna say watch the full video on my channel. It's hopefully gonna be out within the next week. That's kind of what I wanted to talk about today, because yeah, I realized, especially the free Nadra shrine, I think is a shrine I didn't think about as much when I initially made the video, because I kind of had forgotten how fun it is to free Nadra. It's something that you do not really have to do in most speedruns, but it's such a memorable experience. And Eventide Island is actually a gold mine, especially for speedruns. Again, I will have a pinned comment down below with an Eventide Island individual level speedrun, because it might be kind of hard to find. Just feast your eyes on it and see if you agree with me. Obviously, again, if you want to let me know your thoughts, you can do so here, but obviously makes more sense on the full video when it's out on my main channel. That being said, I finally got the shrine out of the ground. We are at 65%. And Tears of the Kingdom will be out in 103 days tomorrow, where I will see you again for another video. Thank you for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day. Peace.